Welcome to Season 2 of our Community Creations competition. Last year we launched our first competition that let the community make their own pack ideas in the same format as the channel's What's Next for Planet Zoo series, with the best ones showcased in videos like these, and the absolute best of each video winning a Planet Zoo DLC of their choice. This year we've just finished our submissions for Season 2 and it's time to showcase more wonderful pack ideas from the community. For this season, however, we're going even more ambitious since the last few DLCs have opened up more mouth-watering opportunities for the Planet Zoo game. Our format is now 8 animals to replicate the format released with the recent Southeast Asia pack. Some packs will thus be complemented with our own picks to fulfill the 8 animal format. Furthermore, submissions will now have aquarium and aviary animals, so keep an eye out for some sharks, birds, and everything in between. Finally, we've introduced a new Community's Choice reward. These are voted for by our Discord community, and the winners of these will receive an exclusive Discord role. So, with the details out of the way, let's get straight into our first part of Season 2, What's Next for Planet Zoo Community Creations. Our first pack is from Crowned Lemur with their Unusual Marsupials pack. Marsupials are already one of the more interesting and unusual mammalian groups, but with this pack, the author hopes to expose and make aware some lesser known marsupials that will probably never see inclusion, but the theme is very interesting and the selections deserve to be mentioned. The Bennett's tree kangaroo has been chosen for the first slot. They are a very elusive member of this genus, living in a tiny pocket in the Daintree rainforest, northeastern Australia. Not exhibited in captivity, however, it is considered a cryptic species where very little is known about them. Next up is the bear cuscus, a marsupial that resembles a cross between a binturong and a tree kangaroo. We've covered this animal on our channel before and it's a very left field, unusual addition, but one not unfounded in captivity as it is showcased, though sparingly, in some zoos. The next few animals we have also covered before when we revisited Australia at the end of the Southeast Asia edition video. They will be more familiar to Australian viewers as they are not necessarily iconic, but are notable marsupials a bit different from the koala or kangaroos you tend to see mentioned all the time. These include the bilby, the quokka and quoll, but also the numbat. This is a small, endangered but strikingly banded termite-eating marsupial, fulfilling similar niches to aardvarks from Africa. Numbats are also known in many zoos, especially within Australia, and they are notable for being active during the day, unlike other small insectivorous marsupials. We round up the chosen theme with some more unusual marsupial candidates. The betong, also known as the kangaroo rat, is heavily exhibited in the United States and Europe. Rabbit-sized animals with similar leg structures as macropods. Also the sugar glider, another unusual marsupial that glides through the trees by opening up its membranous wings attached to its outstretched limbs. Part of the few mammals on Earth that can actually glide through the air. Sugar gliders have thus become one of the most remarkable and popular animals for exhibition, also appearing worldwide in zoos. Some alternatives for this pack idea could be swapping out the Bennets for some more widely exhibited tree kangaroos that include the Matchies and Goodfellows, the common spotted cuscus for the Sulawesi bear cuscus, or the tiger quoll in place of the eastern quoll. Other alternatives can include the dusky pademelon, a little member of the macropods made famous with its showcasing in the UK's Chester Zoo. We can also count the Virginia opossum as an unusual marsupial, not for any biological reason, but geographically it resides in North and Central America, an entire Pacific Ocean away from their dominant range of the marsupials in Oceania. So I guess in a way it is unusual. Next up is Some Electrode's Islanders pack, an idea that revolves around animals endemic to island environments, featuring a roster that is highly anticipated and have featured in previous zoo games. We have several iterations of this island animal scope being submitted, but our favourite was this one. In contention is the Tasmanian Devil, obviously residing on the island of Tasmania. This is probably the most requested Australian animal that wasn't part of the highly anticipated Australia Pack DLC, and thus it's no surprise to see it as the flagship of this pack idea. Next is New Zealand's North Island Brown Kiwi. Again, this is another highly requested species, probably one of the most sought after flightless bird varieties. Its small, fluffy and cute stature, its vulnerable status, and representation from an area that doesn't have any animals added makes it an inspired yet lucrative choice. The Islanders pack also covers the scope of Madagascar, of which the cockerel sifaka and fossa have been chosen to represent, a famous lemur variety and the top lemur predator of the region, both of which are arguably the next favourite anticipated animals from Madagascar. The author has also included the Parsons chameleon for an exhibit slot, which is also from this biodiverse island. Chameleons having been requested for quite some time now, and the Parsons species is one of the few popular and renowned species. From the Isles of Japan, the Japanese Sero. This is a relatively obscure animal, but keen Zoo Tycoon 1 players may remember this species included in the Endangered Species expansion. From the sub-Antarctic islands, we have the southern rockhopper penguin. Theoretically, almost every other penguin could have been chosen, since most of them do reside on islands, but the rockhoppers are a sound decision, especially thanks to their striking head feathering and their resounding success in zoos. A super interesting pick is the coconut crab, a species of gigantic hermit crabs, the largest terrestrial arthropods in the world, and they live on various islands in the Pacific and Indian Ocean. They are also one of the few invertebrates which can actually be showcased in the game's habitat format due to their large size and terrestrial behavior. For some alternatives, we can consider the island fox that resides on the Channel Islands of California, or from the Galapagos, the marine iguana, which makes a compelling concept for an aquatic lizard variety. Or for another terrestrial exhibit animal, the Fiji banded iguana, recently popular in many reptile collections in zoos due to demand for their conservation. Our next pack is from Thijs Riphagen, a peculiar idea centered around linguistics. Animals that have their common names in English, borrowed from Dutch or Afrikaans origins. As a result, this pack is not only a fun, unique way to sort animals, but also features many interesting African species, many of which have been popular requests. For the flagship, we have the white rhinoceros. This animal just got announced for the Africa pack, but we decided to keep it because the author didn't specify a subspecies, and it's also a great example of the theme of this pack. The origin of this animal's name is believed to have been from the Dutch word wijd, translating to wide, referring to the wide mouths these have in comparison to black rhinos. It was probable that as a misinterpretation, this resulted in the animal being called white rhinoceros by English-speaking settlers. The next animal is the klipspringer, one of Africa's highly requested antelope varieties thanks to numerous captive exhibits in famous zoos worldwide and their ability to traverse rocky terrain. That's exactly where the Afrikaans phrase klipspringer comes from, translating literally to rock leaper. Up next is the red hartebeest. The word hartebeest originated from an obsolete Dutch Afrikaans word for deer beast, owing to the animal's resemblance to deer. Red hartebeests are in decent demand and with several submissions containing the antelope. Like the aardvark, the aardwolf's common name is also Dutch Afrikaans, translating to earthwolf, a reference to their burrowing behavior. Aardwolves are quite rare in captivity, only appearing in several world-class institutions such as Tierpark Berlin and Cincinnati Zoo, but that hasn't stopped them from being a highly popular request. The author has only provided 5 animals in their submissions, but we can extend this idea further. The South African bontebok, occurring in the fynbos grasslands, has its name originating from mottled buck. The eland in Dutch, eland translates to elk, and the early Dutch settlers assigned the name to these antelope for the fact that their stocky and large bodies resembled the northern deer varieties from their homeland. And duikers, Afrikaans for diver, possibly a description of the animal's style of locomotion when escaping predators. There are a variety of duikers that can be considered. The yellow-backed will be known to many American zoogoers as it features heavily on that continent's captive population. For the final exhibit slot, the author has chosen the boomslang, one of Africa's most feared snakes. The word boomslang literally translates to tree snake. Boomslangs, however, are extremely rare in captivity due to their inability to adapt to the confines of human care and their dangerous and unpredictable nature. For some alternatives, the blue wildebeest could be a great addition as an iconic Serengeti animal, which was much more anticipated compared to the black wildebeest. The phrase wildebeest translating to wild beast, or the steenbok translating to stonebuck. We now move on to a very fresh topic, aquariums. Yes, this season we've allowed aquarium animals to be featured since the aquatic pack recently has introduced some mechanics that make this possible, and perhaps maybe a full aquarium features can be added in the future. As you can expect, many submissions dipped into this idea, but one of our favorites was Booger Wolf's simply named Aquarium Pack, featuring animals commonly exhibited in public aquariums with a major focus on especially large species. These include the loggerhead sea turtle, a vulnerable sea turtle found extensively in captivity, including some of the finest aquariums in the world, such as Georgia Aquarium and SeaWorld San Diego. The sea otter is also included, and these animals also tend to do quite well in captivity, and again with numerous exhibitions globally. The California sea lion is by far the most exhibited pinniped in the world, and consequently is the most requested pinniped from the community. Quite surprising in all honesty, it wasn't considered for the aquatic pack, though the grey seal also has a large captive population. Up next is the most exhibited large shark in the world, the sand tiger shark. In the UK and Australia, it's also known as the grey nurse shark, and their docility and adaptability makes them suitable for captivity. If you've ever walked through an aquarium shark tunnel, chances are you've seen these sharks already. The author has also included the reef manta ray. These spectacular animals have been requested, although infrequently. Their large size means only the biggest aquarium tanks can fit this animal. These include the Georgia Aquarium and Okinawa Churami Aquarium. Similarly, whale sharks are found sporadically in captivity due to difficulties in accommodating their large size and dietary requirements. Historically though, they could be found in many Asian facilities. The Okinawa Churami is also quite famous for showcasing many whale sharks. The Georgia Aquarium is so far the only facility to house them outside Asia. These next two selections are featured heavily in smaller aquarium tanks. The first is the giant Pacific octopus, the largest octopus species in the world. Renowned for their intelligence, these animals are famous for recognizing human caretakers, solving puzzles, and even escaping from their secured tanks. Currently, the only mollusk in the game is the giant tiger land snail, so octopus are definitely on the high request list. Finally, the moon jelly, translucent jellyfish often showcased in ultraviolet aquarium tanks. Their ease of care makes them one of the most commonly encountered jellyfish varieties in aquariums. Interestingly, they are also the preferred food for sea turtles. Moving on to alternatives, the other two widely showcased sea turtle species are the green and hawksbill. Both have legitimate credibility to replace the loggerhead, and likewise have much popularity. The blacktip reef shark is another commonly exhibited public aquarium shark variety. Their modest size and preference for warm, shallow coastal waters makes them quite suitable to aquariums exhibiting coral reef environments. Instead of manta rays, which are generally rare, the spotted eagle ray could be a compelling alternative. Not as large as them, but not as difficult to accommodate as mantas, and they also feature a striking appearance with white spots and rings on their dorsal surfaces. The ocean sunfish, or mola mola, is another large marine animal found sparingly in public aquariums, perhaps most famous at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Finally, two specimens usually found in smaller tanks in public aquariums include the ribbon eel, a blue and yellow coloured member of the moray eels, and the Pacific sea nettle, a large jellyfish variety exhibited quite commonly around the world. The next aquarium pack presented today is Boston's Finding Nemo, or Finding Dory pack. As the title suggests, this idea features animals showcased in the children's classic Pixar animations. The focus of this idea is more on smaller fish or sea creatures found in coral reefs, with an obvious particular look at some icons from Australia's Great Barrier Reef, the primary setting of these movies. First and foremost, Nemo and his dad Marlin are represented by the Ocularis clownfish, no surprises here. Clownfish or anemone fish make up 43% of the global marine ornamental trade. As a result, they are one of the most common reef fish exhibited in aquariums. It is believed that the movie Finding Nemo has contributed heavily to this popularity. Similarly, the regal blue tang, a species of surgeonfish, is the nominate species of Dory, another main character in the movies. Its blue and yellow coloration is highly prized in coral reef aquaria. The author has also chosen here the California sea lion, represented by the characters Fluke and Rudder in the 2016 movie, another quintessential aquarium animal we've seen many submissions before. Sea otters are also part of this movie, although they don't have as big of a role. Green sea turtles form a major arc of the first 2003 movie, reprising their role in Finding Dory as well. The brown pelican was represented by Nigel in Finding Nemo. Interestingly, this is a North American animal, but still has a huge captive population on the continent, and thus makes a decent shout for seabird variety. The Moorish idol is represented by Gil, one of the major characters in Finding Nemo, but also appears in Finding Dory. Finally, the East Pacific red octopus is represented by Hank in Finding Dory. There's a lot of alternative species for this idea, all relevant public aquarium animals, including Bailey the beluga whale, Destiny the whale shark, Gurgle the royal grammarfish, Bubbles the yellow tang, Bloat the porcupine fish, Mr. Ray the spotted eagle ray, and Sheldon the common seahorse. It's a testament to the movies for showcasing a wide, diverse list of species representation, which makes it especially relevant for creating a Planet Zoo pack idea. Well done to this pack idea. This was quite a nostalgic yet interesting experience to research. The first winner of the Community's Choice Award, which will be receiving our exclusive Discord role, is Persian Pig with their peculiar Amazon pack. South America has been extensively covered on the channel and with the previous competition, but this pack takes it to the next level of uniqueness by exploring the especially weird and wacky animals of the Amazonian rainforest, with a few selections of massively popular and anticipated species. The first is the capybara. Weird in the fact that they are the largest rodents in the world, adept near water bodies, yet they are one of the most requested and submitted species. It seems if ever the case there was another South American pack, it's probably a definite case of the capybara being a part of it. The author has provided some great primate representation here with the white-faced saki and the bald wakari. It's obvious from just their head appearances these guys are peculiar and would be great additions to bolster a continent that is adorned with magnificent primate varieties but hasn't been well represented in the game as of yet. Moving on to reptile varieties, and the author has put in the black caiman. This gigantic crocodilian is the largest predator of the Amazon ecosystem. The dark-colored scaly skin that earns its common name, coupled with its menacing size, makes it a peculiar yet mouth-watering prospect for crocodilian lovers who love to see the Amazon's river's apex predator to be added. For an exhibit slot, the Mata Mata is selected, and it's easy to see why it fits into this pack. This turtle is a premier example of cryptic camouflage, where its shell is meant to resemble a piece of wooden bark, whilst the protrusions on its limbs, neck and head resemble fallen leaves. It serves as camouflage not only against predators, but also for prey, as the Mata Mata uses surprise to catch its fish diet. The ocelot is also included, and although not particularly peculiar, it is a highly requested cat species that also seems to be on the brink of inclusion. It would make a great addition for an Amazonian arboreal habitat. Finally, we've got two bird varieties on offer, the Jabiru stork and harpy eagle. The Jabiru is one of the largest birds of the Americas, with a wingspan and height that rivals condors and the flightless rhea respectively. Their black heads and red neck pouch also make them quite distinct. The harpy eagle is also quite unique, with its head crowned with a double crest. It is sometimes cited as one of the largest eagles in the world, alongside the Steller sea eagle and the Philippine eagle. No doubt, an addition of this magnitude would require some aviary mechanics. There are a few more alternatives for this idea, animals that can be counted as peculiar in a sense. The coatis are a great alternative for an arboreal mammal. They are found enough in zoos to be noteworthy, but they are fascinating and cute creatures. The spider monkeys are another interesting choice. Their very thin, lanky, yet agile limbs propel them through the Amazonian trees. It's a primate that can make a compelling alternative. The jaguarundi can replace the ocelot. These are an interesting, often overlooked feline that is drastically different from other Amazonian cats in that they have a more uniformed grey-brown coloration and are usually diurnal. One of South America's interesting birds is the huatzin. We've covered this before, but it's a bird that's considered a relic, a living fossil if you will, and another interesting choice for a pack exploring Amazonian curiosities. A more aviary bird is the toko toucan. It's not really peculiar anymore since toucans are pretty much synonymous with the Amazon rainforest, but in terms of unique bird species, they are unrivaled and readily acceptable by the community. into some aquatic species, and the Amazon river dolphin is interesting. They are uniformly pink in coloration, almost completely blind, and little is known about them to the general public. Despite this, they have a surprising amount of historical captive representation, especially in the US, but today can only be found in one institution in Peru. Finally, the electric eel is another peculiar aquatic animal from the region, simply for the fact these animals can discharge electricity to stun prey. Finally, we reach our winner for this video with TRX41's Riveting River Critters pack. This winning pack idea presents a mouth-watering roster featuring animals that are related to or interact directly with river systems. Most zoos around the world feature a river-themed area, but there isn't much of that within Planet Zoo. The author also wanted to support the deep diving mechanic that was introduced recently with the aquatic pack, and also wanted representation from every major river system of the world. So all in all, this idea is a combination of more aquatic variety, more inspired captive represented choices, and more popular requests from the community. The first is the Asian small-clawed otter. This is the most represented otter species in captivity and will be familiar to many zoogoers. It was probably in fact the most anticipated otter species as well, representing Southeast Asia's major rivers such as the Irrawaddy and the Mekong. Next is the Nile crocodile, Africa's most famous crocodilian and another highly requested reptilian species representing Africa's immense waterways that stretch from the Nile to the Okavango. The red river hog represents the Congo River and the rainforest surrounding it. Especially popular in European zoos, they prove to be adaptable to the confines of captivity and is another animal we've covered extensively on our series. We have the capybara here again, no doubt representing the Amazon River and the Pantanal wetlands that drain into the Rio de la Plata river basin. North American beavers represent the various river systems of North America, but particularly the Mississippi. The grey-crowned crane is another highly requested bird species from Africa, representing the Rift Valley Lakes and the Great Zambezi River. The Eurasian spoonbill has been chosen for European and Central Asian representation, showcased quite often in captivity, and is distributed from the Danube River in the west all the way to the Amur in the east. And finally, representing the Yangtze River of China is the Yangtze giant softshell turtle. There are a few alternatives for this wonderful idea just to add some more coverage with the rest of the world. For instance, we can include the platypus for Australia, pretty much a perfect river animal that is hugely iconic and requested as well. It can represent the Murray-Darling River system. The fishing cat appears relatively often in captivity and is a great representative of the Bengal region and the Ganges River. Some reptile species can alternate with the author's roster, such as the Asian water monitor for Southeast Asia's riverine habitats, or the Chinese alligator for the Yangtze River. All in all, well done to this pack idea, and congratulations to TRX41 for taking home the prize. We hope you guys enjoyed today's video. What did you guys think about our community's pack ideas? Comment if you've got some suggestions of your own. Like and subscribe to stay tuned for the next one. If you'd like to support the channel further, consider subscribing on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. See you next time.